live. Hey, welcome to episode 173 of the Brewgooders, the beer, comics, and assorted geekery podcast. I'm Jeff, and on my right, but not as far as we're aware, a member of the far right is none other than Stu of the Lager Logs, and obviously the Brewgooders, the beer, and comics, and assorted geekery. We are. It feels like it's been forever since we sat in on the podcast in this way, because obviously we had 2 weeks off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're off 2 weeks ago, and last week we did the on tour episode, which I hope everyone enjoyed. It was a bit different. But yeah, this is kind of back to normal for a wee while, I think. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been fine. Just doing my thing. Chopping together YouTube videos, accruing beer, and just it's Easter holidays, so it's trying to keep the family occupied as well.
The same. So obviously the last time, it's been fucking ages. The last time we were on here, still had a week left of the school term. The week off that we had was the first evening of it was my birthday, but it was also the first evening of the Easter holidays. So I've been the same, just kind of keep kids occupied. Accruing beer, I haven't accrued beer properly in ages either. So I was drinking it as fast as I was acquiring it. So the be back, I did quite well on my birthday. My friend Tom, who's been on the show before, he came round with loads of beer. He has house parties quite a lot. Him and his wife that we visit to, and I think he just acquires beer, and he also homebrews, which is really smart as well. Like he's got a proper keg set up in his shed and stuff. So he came around with loads of beer, and then my uncle Stephen showed up with a box of he literally just walked up to the Caledonian craft beer merchant in Dunfermline and bought 12, 15 bottles of just. I think the way he said it to me is I just went in and asked for what's local, and so he got me loads of fucking what have I got in here? Yeah, I'll probably loads of my favorites Topaz, which is that one beer of the year, the first year we ever ran one on pot. That was the first ever beer of the year on the Brewgooders, and stuff like that. So loads of I had the Tiger Eye. They have one called Tiger Eye IPA. It's 6.3, and I was sold after that one. It was really, really, really good. Yeah. So yeah, the same. Just and then, but it does mean I've got loads to talk about today. Actually, in terms of geeky shit, because I know you're the same, but I live in a family of geeks, so it's me and my two boys are total nerds. So holidays means geek shit, which is good. Yeah. Before that, will we crack open a beer?
Definitely.
Yeah. What's the one you've acquired?
I was given a handful of vocation beers. So I've got this one, Hop, Skip, and Juice.
Oh, nice. So they're a good brewery. I like their they've got one that's it's like a black can with green writing. It's called
Life and Death or something.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, one of the other ones I was given, it must be like a subscription box the guy had, and he'd just given me the ones he didn't fancy, because there's no way I'd see this one out in the shops where volumes.
Oh, you sent a picture of that in our group chat.
11.5 wee heavy.
11.5. Oh fuck.
Yeah, and then it marks on the back that it's as part of, I think, this January box.
Well, oh yeah, okay.
So I think this is maybe like how every brewery kind of does their own little subscription, and you usually get special beers in amongst the core range.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
So yeah, I do not know what occasion I've got coming up that I'm going to have to crack open a near 12% wee heavy. And is it even wee at that point?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think the can's not wee either. I wonder where they got the idea of just calling it that.
Yeah.
So this is an IPA though, isn't it? The one you've opened up for us just now.
A hazy pale ale.
A hazy pale ale.
It's just 5.7. So actually, that's still on the higher side, but no, I think I'll do fine for now.
I am quite I found it quite strange how when as we were talking about quite accruing beer and that again, when I started to dip away from just buying the standard shit that I would normally buy, not shit, but like when I've been buying like I have been buying like Tennants and the Green King IPA and stuff. Just like everything's just that wee bit stronger if you're like buying, even like that Topaz IPA, Session IPA is 4.4, which is a bit high in my opinion for a Session IPA for me is like 3.7 to 4, I think. Because the two beers I've got, they're both Northern Monks. One's is a, let's see if I can clean the can off of it. This is drinking. I'm going to try this. I think this was maybe part of a box as well. It's a 6% hazy IPA called Tank Petrol from Northern Monk. It's I'm trying to think where fatty in futures drink beer, help others. Each can sold of this beer includes a donation to the Faith in Futures Foundation. So by drinking this beer, you're helping us to support people, places, and communities. That's fair enough. So yeah, 6% hazy IPA. That's really hazy. I'm drinking in my my Dungeons and Dragons glass. I thought you could read it on that. It says on that side there. It says,
"Oh, it does actually say it."
Because I'm the DM. That's why. So. That's super fruity, super juicy. That color. What does Andrew always say? Is like it looks like a
custard.
Oh, that's special.
See, that's the thing with Northern Monk beers. Like, usually the smells like okay, it's got like the big fruity smells, but the taste usually backs up as well. It usually is a full-on flavor from their beers. Like I don't think I've ever came across a watery Northern Monk.
Brewery. Yeah. No, I don't think either. Totally. I would say biased, but the 2000 AD stuff that they did was just like that. I've got the Judge Dredd one with the Jock can that I picked up at Thought Bubble last year. It's just like this strong. Like I think. We talk about this on the McCann quite a lot anyway, but like I think you have to kind of back up what you're trying to. You have to back up your claims and your smells and your look. But I think Northern Monk do that as well. Northern Monk cans look fucking the shit. They look amazing, and I think there's an element of we talked about quite a lot where there's an element of sort of judging books by its cover, and I think you see a lot, particularly in the supermarket beers where you buy it and it promises so much, and then when you're actually drinking it, you're like, I remember picking up the one that always sticks to my mind, and I have gone back to it and I've really enjoyed. It's not a supermarket beer, but there's a beer called Juice Springsteen, and the Issue Band, and it's like a session IPA. It's like 4.2%, and I bought it thinking, oh my god, this is going to be the best smelling beer ever because the can art's great. It's named after Bruce Springsteen. This is going to be amazing, and it wasn't. Actually, when I revisited it recently, I was like, oh, actually, it wasn't that. It wasn't good. It just wasn't what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I think I was expecting it to be a hazy 6% IPA like this one, and it wasn't. It was like a 4% session number. So it was just like it was missing kind of the punchiness that I was expecting. So yeah, this is good. I was looking at your video, so like. You went to Glasgow last weekend, yeah?
Yes. Aye.
We got loads of beer shit to talk about, so.
Exactly. If you're watching now, you may as well crack open a beer and join us.
Absolutely. Okay, let me find this on. So this was you were in Glasgow last week. Was there any specific, before we start, was there any specific like route you took when you were there? Was there any pubs that you were trying to check out? Or
it was just based on recommendations and then which were kind of closest to the hotel. So there wasn't a lot, but I didn't want to walk more than like 10 minutes to get to the first pub. And the Bon Accord was a perfect walking distance. And yeah, we just started for there. It's a short one, like obviously compared to the one I did in Edinburgh at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I decided to film it whilst I was there.
Cool. So stand by for 1 minute of pub signs and Stu drinking beer. Okay, I'll do that thing where I have to pan you around as well, guys. Apologies. That was good, man. Like, actually, a couple visiting a couple of places is totally fine, and like, it's when you visit those craft beer shops, like actually, you can go, you could be in there all day and all night if you want to. Like, just, I really like the idea that you can just. I'm assuming that place was very much kind of like you could just go up and just take a can off the wall
out
and
the
then
fridge.
Yeah. I like places like that. The Caledonian craft beer merchant lets you do that as well, and so I think most bottle shops let you. They have like a wee drinking space. So
and that was it. It was just sort of like a wee afternoon of drinking, and definitely either like those two places I visited, the Bon Accord and the Grunt and Growler. You could have easily just spent a whole day there and just.
Yeah.
I think the Bon Accord had 8 beers on tap.
Wow.
So I think it was a mixture of cask and keg, and it's like I could have easily just sat and tried them all. And they also had like a beer fridge on the other side of the counter. So if you wanted to go and get like an overtone beer, they had like lots of craft options just in a fridge in the bar. If you just want to go over, take one. But it was like, I think primarily it's like a big whiskey bar because it's just like the back wall covered in fancy bottles. But I was too busy staring at the taps.
Yeah, man, that's fair dues. No, I love that. I love it. Like those camp places. When we were in Lost and Leith, you could do that. There was like they had a lot of camper van brewing stuff on tap, loads of beer on tap, but then in the fridges as well, you had loads of different stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. Just being able to go and buy it over there. Just go buy a can. It's how we've done the first couple of just before lockdown. We haven't really done one since. We used to go to like we did the Caledonian craft beer merchant. And we all bought different cans, and then you know what I mean. Everybody had like a bit of each can, which was pretty cool. It was a really quirky way of getting maybe 12 beers tasted in like, but while only paying for 2 cans, which is pretty cool. So
get steaming on a budget.
But also just be able to try loads of things. It was quite that's cool, man. I went to Musselburgh on Sunday for the evening. Spent and hung out there. Somewhere a bit different, far enough away from the house that you feel like you're on holiday. And we went to the let me double check what's the name's called, because it's called the Stag, but I think it's only called the Stag locally. Double check Stag. So forget like what's happening with this place. It's like so the Volunteer Arms brackets Stags. Or Stags brackets Volunteer Arms, but it's a pub on Musselburgh. It's a pub in Musselburgh, and the reason I was quite excited to go there is because obviously we talk a lot on the podcast about going to the commercial in the Fairlawn. It's like me and Andrew and Callum and Tom, and is our sort of like unofficial local, despite how there are being pubs for all of us that are closer in geography. It's where we all kind of go as commercial. And the reason we go there is because it's a camera pub. It's it's a real ale bar. And it's an award-winning real ale bar. It's won awards at national and but quite consistently is at like sort of county level. So I was quite excited about this one. The Volunteer is the East Lothian equivalent of the commercial. So I went there and it was good. Nice wee bar. Had 4 beers. Well, that had about 8 beers on cask or keg that were craft, and also had like all the other stuff as well, like your gins and your beers and your like standard lagers like Tennent's and stuff. I I went a bit daft with it. They had two different what was that called? Fine ale. They had two of theirs. They had Jarl and they had Avalanche on tap. So I just had them and watched. Yeah. So Jarl's a personal favorite anyway. You can get it in supermarkets and then now, but it's probably one of my favorite sort of bigger craft beers. And that Avalanche I've only ever had in can when I bought it from Fine directly. So to see that on cask was quite exciting. So I drank a couple pints of that and watched the football, and it was good. Yeah,
that sounds good.
So, yeah, good. Some good pubbing and grubbing. We also went to. I'm glad you couldn't come last week, man. But for anyone that joined us on last week's podcast, we went to the Fourth and Frame near Haymarket in Edinburgh, and there was a bit of banter there as well. Lots learned.
I was very jealous on the train coming home, as you were probably on the train coming in. Yeah, just like kind of just passing.
We went
seeing each other.
Yeah. No, it was and first off we kind of walked into. I don't know if anyone's been to the Fourth and Flame, but it's a pizza bar. It's an Italian themed sort of pizza restaurant place just near Haymarket. We walked in and it was really quiet, so we had to kind of ask the guy as we arrived, "Hi, is there a beer tasting here?" And he took us down yeah, exactly. Took us to the flight of stairs and into like a back sort of function suite room, and it was there, and it was really exciting. We got to try it. Obviously, it was the unofficial relaunch of a lager from Spey Valley, but then they also had Space Cadet on tap, and their which is a favorite of Andrew's, and they had their heavy on tap as well. So we got to do that, but also like I hadn't realised how it all worked out, and I know that you spoke to the guys from Broughton before.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah. It was just Dave that we were speaking with. I think it was all organised. I think through possibly like his daughter or like a relative. But yeah, Dave was the guy that we did our interview with for the podcast.
Yeah, just we were speaking to Dave, but it was a different Dave, and then we found out later on that there's three Daves that work within that. But yeah, I hadn't realised at the time. So we thought we were going to we originally thought we were going to Spey Valley Brewing event because we'd made contact with their sales manager through Claire. She'd been up working in Geekary, and they had a table near where she was working. So she got speaking to those guys, and she was like, "Oh, Jeff, my husband's got a podcast where he drinks beer." So just kind of got through it that way. But then we were supposed to be going up there this weekend. We were going to go up there this weekend, and it was getting tricky to coordinate. And it was almost like it's almost like Mel from sales at Spey heard us and was like, "Actually, guys, there's this thing happening in Edinburgh, which is closer to you guys, and it means you could get the train home, and it meant you didn't have to come all the way up to Keith and all that sort of stuff." So we just went assuming that we were going to a Spey Valley Brewing event, but when we got there, obviously Spey Valley's part of a cooperative effort between.
Yeah, there's three of them. Obviously, like as I mentioned, I was speaking with Dave from Broughton. Then there's Spey Valley, and I'm blanking on the third one.
Alchemy, who I must apologise, we've been calling Alchemy for since we became aware of them last year.
There's a pun in there all along.
Yeah, there was, and we never noticed it. But yeah, they're called Alchemy. They have two beers that regularly feature in the commercial, which is how I became aware of them. To be honest, they've got a session IP or a session pale ale called Charisma, which I really enjoy, and we can go to the bar and we're pals with Sheila, who's the barmaid at the commercial. We can go, "Sheila, can I get some Charisma, please?" And she'll be like, "No, fuck off. You don't got any. You'll need more than a pint. All that pish." So and then Ritual's really nice as well. So it was cool just them being there and representatives from there. It was also just cool kind of hearing about. They talked a lot about like they're three very different kinds of brewery in terms of like initial like introduction into the world and their ethos, and and then we talked a wee bit. I called it a shared vision because I'm a teacher and I've been reading a lot about how teacher management works, and they always talk about like teacher management or sort of teacher leadership, I should say, is always about like teachers sharing the same vision and like that, and direct James. So I used that phrase, shared vision and aims, and kind of got an eye roll from Dave of Broughton, but it was like. But no, it was cool. So, but they did really kind of talked about like how it's all about the beer, and it's like the idea is that there's 3 different breweries with 3 different approaches, and just sort of methodology behind creating beer, but like working together only benefits the beer. So like they would talk a bit about like guys from Spain would go down to Alchemy for the day just to learn what's happening, or they've got and they were saying how brought in the measurements are done using like old school measurement techniques because the breweries dates back to the 70s, whereas Alchemy it's all computer. It's all they are valerie type. So that they can all learn from each other and it just betters their beer and stuff. And there's 3 breweries that I totally love. So actually you can see it's working. So
and that's it. You tend to see Broughton in like a lot of pubs in the form of because they've kind of got like their 2 brands where it's like the craft side and their traditional side. So the craft side you'll see a lot in pubs with their brand Hopple.
Yeah.
Like the little hippo. I'd seen one of the bars along here in Lower Largo have now got Hopple on tap.
I've only ever seen Hopple on tap once. I discovered Hopple at really early on in the podcast. Was it really early? Yeah, in the first year of the podcast, I discovered Hopple through the Aldi. They do the beer festival thing.
Yes,
yeah. I discovered them and just kind of Hopple's brilliant. And I went to I think it was like a Weatherspoons or one of those kind of gastro places in Saltcoats on the west coast. I was out there on a holiday and they had Hopple on tap and it was great. Like a really, really, really good beer. Quite an underrated beer, I think. So, but as I say, and then Spey Valley have got like Space Cadet and they've got the Spey Valley Lager and their Sunshine on Keith lager as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of their Keith range. I remember finding them in a whiskey shop in St Andrews. Yeah. And it was like, Sir Keith, this Keith, that Keith. And it's like, this is crazy. I'll just grab half a dozen of these. And yeah, I just assumed it was like Keith Brewing or something. But yeah, it was cool to see that they were the Spey Valley.
Oh no, that is. You've got Keith Brewery.
All right.
They're good. Yeah, so you do have. There's 2 breweries in Keith. And we actually talked about this last week because we did. I did speak a wee bit about the different Keith beers, I'd say because I knew that there was Keith Brewing and then there's Spey Valley, but they're both based in Keith. And I actually said the Keith Brewing guys have like I actually asked that. I was like, do they have a wee issue with you having a wee Sunshine on Keith? And they're so that's kind of their branding thing. They're like, no, like they're like we're all pals, and and Sunshine and Keith predates Keith Brewing or something like that. So. But,
okay, fair enough.
But certainly, what they were talking about, so different, as I said, sort of different mentality. So, like, Alchemy are like the young, like, let's try weird things. So we got to try a beer that had guava and blood orange in it last week, and it was in a labelless bottle because they didn't have a name for it yet. But we got to try that last week, and it was really nice. One of the running suggestions was that they were going to call it Guava Lava Ding Dong, and but then one of the other guys was like, "Yeah, that's not what we're calling it." So it was quite funny. We've not come up with a name yet. So we got to try that. So like you've got Alchemy that are trying new and flavors and stuff, and you've got Broughton, who are a traditional sort of Scottish heavy, and they'll play around with. But which is quite interesting because when they started out in the late 70s, it was during that sort of spirit of punk. There was no new breweries in Scotland, and then Broughton came out and tried to like shake things up a wee bit and do something new. Which is funny because they're now the older of the 3 in their group, and they're very much like the grandfather brewery of the 3. And then Spey Valley are really sort of traditional Scottish kind of values, and they were talking a lot about how hopefully up in sort of Morayshire and Speyside, you've got all the whiskey distilleries, and you've got the whiskey trails and stuff up there. And they're like, their dream is to be like creating like a real ale trail that kind of takes you up through Speyside as well. But, so it was just cool being part of. It was cool being part of that conversation with these guys, and yep, they were hopefully going to have us back for. They're going to do those events quite regularly.
Awesome.
While also doing stuff in their breweries that they're invited to. So I'm hoping to catch up with the guys in Speyside. I'm going up to Elgin in a couple of weeks for a music festival, but they're going to be there as well. So hopefully be able to get some stuff there.
That's cool.
It's just a nice way to spend a Thursday, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
We also ended up at the start and end of the night. We ended up on Platform 5, which is the pub directly opposite the Haymarket train station as you come out. It's like the first train station. Right. It's a Green King. So I went in there and got the Green King. They what's it called? They've got a outside of just like their Green King IPA. They've got a run of other brewery beer types as well. And I had one of them, and it was like £3. So why is your beer £3 for a pint? And he was like, "Oh, it's because it's a Thursday." Just all right. So, but no, lots of beer. Lots of beer, lots of laughs. So yeah, it's all good.
Aye, it's a shame to miss it, but we were at the Edinburgh Playhouse seeing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, that's fun.
So
everybody's been seeing that, and everybody I know that's got kids, apart from me, has seen that this week.
And it was brilliant. It's the only time I've ever seen this happen in the Playhouse, where it just looked like a lot of children were walking around with grey plastic basins. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, maybe one of the kids is like, it's going to be sick or something. They've just got a basin just in case. And then it's like a dozen kids went past and they all had one each. And like, it's booster seats. They've got booster seats for their chairs. And there's like little plastic boosters. So
I thought they were going to shoot sweeties out of confetti
to catch it. If only. That was the only thing that they didn't seem to sell. You know, they had all the merchandise. You could buy Charlie and the Chocolate Factory pens, magnet, badges, socks. Couldn't buy a Wonka bar.
Maybe they don't have rights to the Wonka bar. Is that maybe a film thing?
But how are you able to do the whole blink and play then? But I reckon.
I don't know.
I feel like
we talk about this quite a lot in. Well, yeah, I think so. That's just Brandon waiting to happen. We talk about that quite a lot in comics actually, because when we talk about rights and who has the right to what and when and stuff like that, actually, it's really interesting. You should grab Steve Tanner of Time Bomb Comics, because he has Time Bomb had I think they still do have they have the rights to produce certain Jerry Anderson properties in comic, but what they can and can't put together is quite interesting because like certain puppet aesthetics and certain vehicle aesthetics are not held in that property and they're held elsewhere. So like they've got the rights to the new Captain Scarlet or the new Adventures of Captain Scarlet, which was a CGI show in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But so even though they've got Captain Scarlet's rights, it's not Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons of the 1960s. It's like a new one. But then they've got the rights to Terrahawks in comic form, and it's just cool. It's quite interesting here about like what you can and can't do. And so like when he was creating the comic, he was saying there was an awful lot of like having to send stuff to the Jerry Anderson organization for them to look over it and go send it back and go, you can't have that vehicle in there because that looks like the 60s. Like they which is, I find that stuff quite fascinating. Obviously we're both wrestling fans and you hear about it a lot in that as well, about like
getting
Cody Rhodes couldn't call himself Cody Rhodes, didn't have the right to his own second name for years and just stuff like that.
Wrestlers having to create new identities so they could be copyrighted for merchandise.
You see it all the time. It's like I follow a couple of pages on Facebook and on the internet, and you get like breaking news updates and stuff, and it's like WWE have or AEW have put in copyright like notices for the following phrases, and it's like so you look at the Queen of the Ring was one last year where they wanted to and that kind of stuff. So you're like, oh, it's cool. It gives you an idea of kind of what they might be thinking about in the future.
Yes, exactly.
we'll get to wrestling. We'll do wrestling at the end.
There's no one that could stop
we'll
us.
chat about comic.
Yeah.
We'll chat about comic book stuff. Yeah. Well, you said you'd bought loads of stuff this week, or had.
It was more or less since I was in Glasgow. I thought I'll have a look at this Forbidden Planet shop because I noticed
It's
that
one.
It's a new one. It's bloody huge. Me and my wife has spent about like 45 minutes, got to the till, then just to realise there's a staircase leading to another floor, and I was like, "Fuck, there's more." I literally just thought it was the ground floor only, and that was still big enough.
Nah.
And then the fact that there was even more upstairs was absurd. But yeah, so I went. I was still. This is as much effort. I've not even taken it out of the bag yet.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm still in this love-hate relationship with comics. I buy loads, but I read bloody none of them. So I need to sort this out.
That's a tricky one. Like.
So I've picked up 2 books from the reduced section because I'm a cheap git. But it's things I like. It's a let's see if it likes to focus. There you go. Big Trouble in Little China, Old Man Jack.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. Like, love Kurt Russell, love Big Trouble in Little China. So they had Volume 2 for $6.99, and right beside it, they had Volume 3.
Oh, nice, good.
So I had to take them. Like, I just love more adventures of like Jack Burton. So, and yeah, I've got one on the shelf, and I think I just assumed I'd either lost interest and never noticed the fact that they kept going on with the story, but the fact that there's more, and it was in the reduced bit, and it was like, aye, this will give me something to talk about on the Brewgooders.
Content. I love it. I have it's kind of hit or miss. I find those sort of tie-in comic series. Some of them are great. Some of them are not very good.
I'll soon find out. Actually, there's a name on here you'll recognize. Obviously, John Carpenter's writing on these, but a name I was familiar with was also helping out. You'll recognize the second name on this list.
Oh, no way!
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh, I need to read that now. I didn't realize.
He's done a few collaborations with John Carpenter when it comes to comics.
Anthony Birch was the name. Sorry for those that are listening. So Anthony Birch is a friend. It's not a friend. I wish he was my friend. Anthony Birch is the DM, the Dungeon Master on my favorite podcast that isn't us, called Dungeons and Daddies. It's not a BDSM podcast. It's a Dungeons and Dragons real play podcast about 4 dads trapped in the Forgotten Realms trying to rescue their lost ones. And it's incredible. It's the best hour of my fortnight sometimes. And just, new Dungeons and Daddies, let's get this going. But yeah, I know they're all involved in other things, aren't they? Obviously. Because
aye.
I know Anthony Birch was involved in comic writing. I know he's done like loads of YouTube stuff, and they all some Netflix stuff as well. Him and Will Campos and Freddie Wall.
I remember it was like fucking let's go back 10 years. I remember the video game podcast he used to do it for Destructoid, and he'd also do another podcast where it's him and his sister Ashley. And obviously, Ashley's went on to star in like Mythic Quest. She was one of the game devs, and she's went on to like write and direct episodes of Mythic Quest. And and then I was just like, I never knew like Anthony Birch just fell off the face of the planet for me. Like, I could have followed him on Twitter, then knew exactly what he's up to, but I just stopped hearing that name, and it wasn't until we started talking. You were recommending that podcast, and I was listening to it, and it's like, this host sounds awfully familiar. And yeah, right enough. Anthony Birch.
I know, right? He's a great DM. I've listened to loads of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, just trying to find the vibes. I've tried Critical Role because that's the one everyone tells you to listen to. I've tried Not Another D&D podcast. I've tried the Adventure Zone. Dungeons and Daddies just seems to just tick it for me. And Anthony is a massive part of that. He's so funny. I like it. Even just every episode where he's like, they all introduce each other at the start, and he always is like, "Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm your dad," and they're like, "Hi, Dad." It's like it's just great.
Yeah.
It's just a good. It's cool. I will check that out, man. That gives me a wee bit more hope. As I say, I've read loads of comic tie-ins. Some of them are great, some are not great. Some of them are brilliant. I read was it the prequel comic to the X-Men movie, and it was great, which is not surprising. But that was years and years ago, like, in fairness. But then I also read, I was a massive fan of because we've already talked about how much we love wrestling. Massive fan of Glow on Netflix, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And during that time when we were not sure if we were getting a season 4, there was a comic series, but it was awful. I bought it thinking, I love Glow. Hopefully they've got some writing on it. But I don't know, it was like Glow Light. Anyone that's seen the program knows it's quite dark. It's quite thought-provoking. And it's not really about women's wrestling at all. It's about it's about femininity and sexuality and gender place within the 1980s. And it's phenomenal. In that weird world where you've got the biggest arseholes in the planet are the successful ones, and the nice people are really just struggling, and none of that's covered in the comic. It was just like a played for laughs wrestling comic, and I'm like, this is very good. This is not Glow. But then I've also read the Back to the Future comics, outstanding. The Power Ranger comic series, I would argue, is better than the Power Ranger TV series, and has been for years.
All right, so, I saw. That's also the worst thing about being in a Forbidden Planet is when you look at the wall and it's all just like the single issues. Things like, oh, there's a Power Rangers and Turtles crossover comic.
Yeah,
and there's like, no, don't just wait until there's a paperback, and you could.
I think there is one. What I like about them is I've got all the foil covers of the Power Rangers holding their helmets, which was like for a wee while was like a thing, and I will frame them all and put them up one day. But you can get them as the variant covers for that Turtles crossover it was like if the Turtles were wearing armor and it was them holding the turtle shaped helmets, and it was the same foil cover. So that's like we always talk about Holy Grail comic, and I've sold loads of comics. I've even sold comics that are effectively originally Holy Grail comics. But as a collector, I want to have the Power Ranger series. Is just great. I totally recommend it. It's clearly been written by us as fans of the the us of the world who are like, Power Rangers TV series is really good, but it doesn't do canon very well, and it doesn't do character development very well. And what would happen if they did this, and what would happen if they did that? And so they can play around with it, and it's just really interesting. Like, what would happen if they brought in a multiverse? What would happen if it's just good. I would totally recommend it. Anyone should just. I wouldn't know where to deep dive into the Power. So it's the Power Rangers 30th anniversary this year.
Okay.
On Monday, actually, we're getting a one-off 45-minute episode.
Oh, is this a Netflix thing? Yeah,
it's that once in now. I think it's called Power Rangers Now and Forever.
Okay.
So I'm actually really looking forward to that. I'll be working annoyed. I've been off for the last 2 weeks, and my first day back, there's a brand new Power. But it's about the original Rangers coming back to try and. So it's quite cool. And it's interesting. I've been doing a lot of reading, and I'm doing a lot of writing actually on the original Power Ranger stuff, and it's quite interesting just how shit. For example, you got David Yost is coming back,
right?
Who is
the Blue Ranger.
The first time he's been back since like 1996. Actually, he left under like a hail of like homophobic abuse and stuff. He was having a really I've not read. I can't really work out where it came from, but he seemed to get a really shit time for being gay. While he was. So the fact that he's back after this, about 25 years, 26 years that he's back, and it's actually like good. He's obviously they've managed to make peace and address the issue. So hopefully, it's cool. It's exciting stuff. Very excited for that. It's just where I was going with that. I would really like to read that. I love John Carpenter stuff, and I don't know if there's many of other of his properties that you could turn into a. I suppose you could do you could do a Snake Plissken series would be pretty cool.
Yeah, they've done one similar to that, but again, I think they've all just been spinned off of Big Trouble in Little China, because I did collect the single issues of the Big Trouble in Little China Escape from New York crossover comic, where it was Jack Byrne and Snake Plissken having to team together. And it was like, fall through a portal type of situation. This is how we were able to get these two together.
Yeah, I like that.
So, that's fun. Artwork's wild. So
it's fun. I love John Carpenter stuff. They Live, really good.
Definitely.
John Carpenter's Vampires, excellent movie. No one talks about
crazy.
that.
I know. James Woods.
Yeah, he's just amazing. James Woods is great. I saw him Precinct 13, so I'm trying to think I was talking about John Carpenter this weekend for quite a long time about all the John Carpenter movies. I really like Vampires with James Woods. I think that gets forgotten.
Yeah, when it's in the list with the things like The Thing and Halloween, it tends to be a little bit further down. Not like a household name per se, but yeah, exactly. Big Trouble in Little China, that dodgy Village of the Damned remake with Mark Hamill and Christopher Reeve. Yeah, In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, Christine.
Absolutely. Oh, I bloody love Christine. That was an amazing movie.
Yeah, The Fog as well, didn't it? Was The Fog?
I definitely with Audrey Barbeau with that radio station in a lighthouse.
Yeah,
like brilliant.
Yeah, just good. Really, just since I saw John Carpenter a couple of years ago, it was really good. He toured. He did a live show. I don't know if you were there. I don't know. It was before your time.
I've been to one at the Barrowlands and one at Usher Hall.
It was Usher Hall when I went to. It was brilliant. Just really cool.
I was there as well. I was sat up on a wee balcony, like resting my chin.
Yeah, it's a good venue for that kind of event as well. Yeah,
it was strange because I went with a couple of mates and they had tickets to the ground floor, and it was strange to go to a concert then sit down in a seat.
Yeah, totally worth it though. I think that was cool. He's a total dude, as John Carpenter as well. We digress. My comic this week. So I'm only going to mention it once, but if you're not on it anymore yet, you should be on the Brewgooders Patreon. It's at Patreon // the Brewgooders. But we've got some really cool stuff in there, including a comic by Josh Spiller, who we're going to have on the show really soon. But I picked up. We talk about this on the show sometimes. I have a subscription to Comic House, which is like an indie comics Netflix thing. It's really good. And I picked up on that a comic called Cinevore, which is about a young guy who they didn't really explain how, but he crash lands in the age of the vampires at the same time as this kind of green comet. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you interact with this green comet, it gives you powers, including the ability to like shoot energy from your hands, but also for whatever reason gives you the ability to talk to all creatures. So this guy is able to form a friendship with this dinosaur, and eventually they're able to kind of hear each other speak and stuff like that, which is quite smart. But there's also the Cinevores in it as well. So when this when this green comet crash landed, it collided with a dinosaur and turned him into this sort of energy Godzilla type thing.
Yeah, looks like a cross between like Ghost Rider and Godzilla.
So yeah, that was just cool. Full of accent and characters you cared about. The human character, but he makes friends with a dinosaur and he calls it D. D's really nice, and when I find myself quite quickly, it's one shot at the moment. It looks like they're going to hopefully be trying to do an issue 2 soon. But at the moment, it kind of, if they didn't do an issue 2, you would be like, oh, that's fine, because it kind of ends on a point where you're like, yeah, got that kind of. Actually, we were talking about all those 80 movies. You know, the 80s were really good at doing a film like the 80s were really good at setting up sequels that never existed. So like The Thing, and Thing springs to mind, and Total Recall, which I know is 1990. Don't shoot me. I know Total Recall's not an 80s movie. But these felt like, and I know lots of these films then did spawn sequels, but then a lot of them also could have, like, say Total Recall didn't have a direct sequel, and it's brilliant. It ends in a way that could have had one. So yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that. Art was really well done. The story was, as I say, was written by Josh Spiller, who we're hopefully going to get in the show soon. He's got work in our Patreon, so one of his recent short stories is in our Patreon. If you back us for either £2 or £4 a month, you get access to. At the moment, it's sitting about 14 comics. It's going to go up to 16 tomorrow. But one of those comics is by Josh Spiller, so you should check it out. Just really enjoyed it. I quite like. Anyone should get, if you've got like £3 to spare a month, you should check out Comic House, because you get, like, we talk about it quite a lot on the show, but I'll show you kind of what it looks like. It's just so you log in and it's like that. It looks like that, and it's all just comics. Recently viewed, new releases, top comics. There's some big name stuff in here. All the comic scene stuff is in here. I'm trying to think what's in here. That's if you're previous. There's some Logan's Run comics in here. It's pretty cool. If you're friends of the podcast, like Fraser Campbell and John Lees, Steve Tanner, Steve Ingram, they've all got stuff in here. So you can search by creator as well, which is quite a cool feature.
We talk about that again. You go ahead.
I was going to say, we always have Andrew has always said to us on the podcast. He's always said when he was selling comics, when he's trying to get folk into comics, and they're like, "Where would I start?" He's like, "Well, don't start with like." He's like, folk are like, "I want to read Spider-Man, but I don't know where to start." And he's like, "Well, actually, Spider-Man, you can't really start anywhere with Spider-Man because it's 60 odd years. It's like 60 years this year or something." So he's like, what you need to do is like. He would always say, like, kind of what you need to do is find a writing style you like. So what kind of TV programs do you watch? And then find a writer that you like, and then follow them. And I would agree, in comics in particular, you've got guys like, say, John Lees, James Lawrence, for me, Steve Ingram. Whenever they bring out a new book, I'll just buy it because it's them, and I like their storytelling.
Yeah.
So, but it's also it's quite interesting as well then, because then you get like, I don't know, if you like writers and you like artists, sometimes you'll have like a writer that you like who you find out is now writing a story, like Ram V, for example, who I discovered as he was sort of self-publishing stuff and creating his own stuff, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Ram's been picked up by Marvel, so Ram's now and he's now picked up. He's been doing Detective Comics for the last year, so that's been quite incredible. Thinking like, well, I like that guy's writing. Oh, they've given him Batman. Oh, they've given him Wolverine. That's cool. Let's see him. So that's what I would say as well. And then then you would then have like somebody you like, and then if that person, I think Dan Abnett, for example, is another writer I really appreciate. He has been writing. He's been at the moment writing for 2000 AD. So I've been buying 2000 ADs because I know he's got stories in it. And then you just find other things as well. So cool. Everyone should check out Comic House. £3 a month. You can't really go wrong with it. And you can discover writers and then follow them. So I've got some stuff on it as well. So if you read my stuff on Comic House, I get a fraction of a penny every time somebody reads it. So
that'll add up eventually.
Eventually. It does make you like. I remember Colin's been on it. He was like, "Oh, I got my payment from Comic House," and I was like, "How much did you get?" And he was like 70 pence or something. And then he showed me, and he was like one of the most read comics on the platform. And I was like, so he got 70 pence. So I looked at mine, and you can, as a creator, you can see how many somebody's viewed your comics.
Yeah,
There's like 12 times. Great. So, well, so that was my comment.
12 times more than the person that decided not to write a comic. So
exactly. That was my comic That was my comic reading this. I'm trying to think what I did in the last 2 weeks that would fit into comic books. I've been writing loads of Jeff the Juniors is completely written. Jeff the Juniors 2. I'm going to be launching that in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks tonight, actually, the 27th. I'm hopefully going to have most of it done by then. But I've got I've been tying up stuff, so I've got a story that I've written that's Grumber Tag, who's a really good comic artist, is going to draw from based in Dunfermline. He's going to draw a 3-page story for me out of that book. That's really cool. And Peter Taylor, who is the writer and artist on a number of stuff set in like the Plague, but massive football fan, he's going to draw a 2-page comic about VAR for me, for video assisted refereeing and how shit it is. So yeah, so 2 weeks tonight. Hopefully, I'm going to be launching it at 6 o'clock on the 27th. So hopefully, by the time we go into air, it'll be fully funded. So, or I'll be crying on here. So, but yeah. So that was more than other comic stuff. Beer comics. Have you got our beer to open? Have you opened our beer?
I have. It is one of these new Fierce beer. It's a
nice.
Fierce berry fruity pale.
Yeah, that's good. Is that another Aldi number or?
Yes, this was one of they've changed. I did a video for the Larglogs YouTube channel. Normally, when it's like the craft beer festival at Aldi and Lidl, doing videos on those worked quite well for us. So it would normally be me in a bag of shopping. I would go through it, tell Tom what he's missing since he's down there in England. Wow, this smells crazy. So it's usually about April that they come back. So right enough,
yes,
we've got the advert. And Aldi had it described as the Scottish Beers of the Month. So they'll be doing a monthly highlight of craft beers, like focusing on beers from different breweries. Cool. And it was like monthly. And I mean, like the ones that they did last year, when you look at the magazine, it was like 3 pages worth, like about 20 different beers, usually one from every brewery at least kicking about in Scotland. But now it's like 8 beers from 4 breweries, and it's
good.
Threatening to be once a month. And it's like, that's actually manageable. I could like pick up 8 beers and try them all rather than picking up like 25 and trying to drink them all before the next one. But
yeah,
doing this monthly gig is like more affordable and obtainable. So
that's really cool, man. That's exciting. And
look at
just that. Oh, that's a different color. Just that variance of beer, isn't it? Like that being able to go back and get a different thing. Sometimes I find it with Aldi, because it's so cheap, you could buy like the 4 or 5 new beers they've got, and then if you want a bit of variety, that's a beautiful color.
Yeah, fierce berry indeed. So and these all were. I mean, the dearest one was $1.99. The rest were like $1.70. So much like cheap and cheerful craft beer.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, that's a good one. What's it smell like? Does it smell as fruity as it looks?
It does. It tastes different though. It's almost okay. So it mentions it's mostly raspberries and blackcurrant. The aroma, forest fruit, flavor, dark fruits and berries. It does have quite like a light bitterness to it. Okay. So it's kind of not as fruity and sweet as I was expecting. But it's got like a real. Oh, it's hard to nail it. It's almost like a pine taste to it.
That would be surprising. Because sometimes you'd add a pine you'd add something like pine into it to bring out to bring down the fruitiness. The fruit, you'll make it less tart.
Yeah, and this isn't tart, surprisingly, but it's most like kind of like an earthy taste to it almost. Yeah. So I guess it's maybe there just to kind of balance it out.
That's cool, man. The Aldi Lager stuff is the Aldi Beer Festival stuff is really good. I got gifted one of these from I think this is part of the Aldi range. If not, it's Lidl do something similar. I've got like one called a strawberry mojito sour.
Oh yeah, that is an Aldi number.
Yeah.
Although saying Loch Lomond's in both of them now, so
yeah. Remember when I first became aware of Loch Lomond, it was like there's a bunch of breweries we talk about in the show quite a lot. There's a bunch of breweries where like originally when we first started the podcast, they were really like we recognized them as kind of like craft ale. There were guys that like we were like, oh, these are breweries that are ones to watch, and they're you now get them in supermarkets, and they don't stock them in like Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant because you can buy them in supermarkets. And
yeah,
I remember speaking to Colin at the craft beer shop in Dunfermline, Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant. He was saying like things like Brewdog and that he doesn't stock them because they're not good beer. He just stocks. He doesn't stock them because actually it's not cost effective to buy Brewdog in.
Yeah, that's it.
And then there's been a couple of beers like Tempest have gone the same way for him. Tempest, Vocation. I think Vocation. I might have made that one up, but definitely Tempest and Stuart.
Right, of
were
course.
two that he stocked when we first went into Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant. They were like sort of signature beers or like beers that were like I've not been in a couple of weeks, but I don't know. Tiny Rebel might be that way as well. You buy Tiny Rebel everywhere, and when we first started, that was like Tiny Rebel was like Tiny Rebel were my we first started the podcast. They were my they were my ace. They were my craft beer. You're not sure you like craft beer. Let me get you a Tiny Rebel, and we'll go from there. I grabbed this. It's called Heretic. It's another one by Northern Monk.
Oh yeah,
beautiful can.
Yeah, it's a great can art.
Brewed in the north with Pietro Maltini. I recorded the sounds of the brewery to make a techno track. Apparently, it's good. A juicy hop act of heresy with Simcoe, Idaho, and Mosaic hops. Definitely can feel the Mosaic. You said about the earthy tone.
Aye.
I associate that with I associate that with Mosaic. This is quite similar to the hazy. It's our hazy IPA. It's 6.5% rather than just 6%, but it's not got the same punch, which is interesting. It's like it's not got the bitterness that the other one had. It's still beautiful, a bit smoother, and actually quite dangerous as a result. I would drink that thinking it was more sessionable than the other one. So
yeah, and that's it with that ABV sneaking up on you.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, two amazing beers from Northern Monk. Definitely a top tier brewery, I think. When we go into Thought Bubble, I think they're Northern Monk are from like the Leeds area.
Okay.
So they've got there's a Northern Monk pub. It might be that. No, there's not. I'm total telling lies. There's a North Brewery up there as well, isn't there? Northern Monk and North Brewery, they're different.
Yeah, they're different.
But you can bet like Northern Monk do the collaborations with Thought Bubble, so you get some really awesome like small batch beers at Thought Bubble weekend. So
that's cool.
It's all good. Right. Okay, so we've done beer, we've done comics, we went back to beer. Assorted Geekary.
Not
about now, we're getting there. I love the holidays, and I forgot how much I loved just being a massive nerd and having weeks. As a teacher, I get weeks of being able to do things I want to do. And now I've got a 15-year-old and a 7-year-old at home who both happen to do the same things that I want to do. So
everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy. And that includes Assorted Geekary. I've not seen Dungeons and Dragons movie yet, but I did discover a new cinema near my house. That's incredible, and they will be showing it at the weekend. So I might go this weekend to see that. We've got in Dunfermline. We've got an Odeon, which is like one of the most expensive. I said Europe, and then somebody corrected me, but I think it was the most. I think it was the most expensive. It was marked as being the most expensive cinema around, at least.
Right.
Maybe in Scotland, maybe in the UK. I said Europe, and somebody said that's not quite right. But I think, it was It's a humongously expensive cinema. It's 25 quid. I went to see him. I went to see Ant-Man Quantumania with my son there, and it came to 25 quid to get us both in for an adult and a child.
Nah, it's nuts.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
We've got and recently, or sort of in the recent past, we've had 2 cinemas open in Fife, but a wee bit further away from my house, nearer your way. So we've got the Kino Glenrothes and the Kino Leven.
Yes, aye. That's the ones that me and my family go to. So I think we get the family of 4 in for £25.
Yeah.
And if you go to them on a Monday, all tickets are £3.
Excellent. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
What's the setup like in these places? Is it just like a standard cinema? It's just, or do they do the couch thing? Or
they do the couch thing. Well, for the one in Leven, downstairs it's couches. Upstairs it was a balcony, but they converted it into a second screen. But that has the original cinema seating, so it's quite old-fashioned seats. But yeah, the ones in Glenrothes is a mixture, just like some cinema seating, some couches, and then some more modern. Like they have a third screen, which I think used to be like a staff room, and they just converted it into a third screen, and that's kind of got like your big Odeon style chairs.
Yeah.
So
that's nice. Like it's a nice way to. It's a nice way of doing it. So I went to Alloa, which is I think about equidistant from my house. It's maybe a wee bit closer than the Glenrothes one, by like it's a marginal difference. But I thought I actually that's my other geeky thing. Let me go and get it. So this is what Tom and so we go to the pub. Myself, Colin, Andrew, and my mate Tom, who isn't on the podcast, but he spends a lot of time with us in the pub. He got me into backgammon.
Okay.
I'm massive into backgammon. So I was so I got this really snazzy wee backgammon board.
That is snazzy.
From somebody was selling it on Facebook Marketplace in Alloa. So I thought, while I'm there, I might as well go to a cinema that's down that way rather than drive to Alloa, come back to Dunfermline, and then try and find a cinema. Yeah. So I went to watch the new Mario movie there, and it's a converted church, and it's just couches. It's all couches. It's really, really smart. When I went there yesterday, out of a total potluck, my friend Kevin, who I didn't realise this was owned by, he is a manager in a cinema in Bathgate, and it's the same group that own the Bathgate cinema that own the Alloa cinema.
Okay.
But also they've got these back rooms in both buildings that he uses as film studio. So he's got a really good podcast, a really well received podcast called the Jibber Jabber podcast.
Right.
It's good. Everyone should check it out. It's really good. They get some really interesting guests. I did a podcast with Kevin and Colin and our mate Sean. We did a podcast like years and years ago. It's how I met Colin. Actually, he was a guest on my old podcast. But it was just a geek podcast. It was basically this sort of geekery segment of this podcast, but like done over like 2 hours. And we invited Kevin on because they just released the trailer for Ready Player One, and both me and Kevin had read the book. So we're like, let's do a podcast where we read the book and then review it, and then when the film comes out, we'll revisit how good it is compared to the book. And it was our most listened to podcast. I don't know why, but our Ready Player One book review was the most listened to version of this podcast for some reason. But Kevin, that podcast disbanded quite soon after me and Kevin did that. He was like, no, actually, by that point, he got the podcast bug. I was like, no, fuck it, I'm going to start my own podcast. He started Jibber Jabber, and it's become really, really good and really, really well received. They interviewed the lead singer of they interviewed the guy who did Cry Little Sister from Lost Boys.
Oh, right, okay.
And then they held a screening of Lost Boys in this cinema in Bathgate, which he's a manager in. And they got the guy to go in and do like a musical like introduction. So they had this guy sung "Cry Little Sister" before the main screening. It's like, all right, because we got Kevin Eastman on our podcast. That's cool. It's cool. I like these. If you're going to see a film and I would check it. Like, I think there's more cinemas now I don't know what's happened, but there does seem to be more cinemas now than there used to be.
Mm.
I walk past the Scotsman newspaper. I think owns a small cinema in Edinburgh, quite close to the Waverley train station. I walked past it today and was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was there." It was up Flesh Market Close.
Right.
So yeah, it was great. Yeah, but yeah. Where did we start now? Yeah, I went to the cinema and saw fucking Super Mario Brothers. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it
Yeah.
yet?
I took my kids at the weekend. Yeah, that film sort of ticked all the boxes. I think it's been getting sort of like not the best reviews online, but like those reviews are being written by adults, and like all I'm seeing is children that bloody love it. So I
Yeah, no,
guess
totally.
like their opinions don't matter, and it's making obviously stupid amounts of money, as it should.
It's broken so much already, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of these things like, why did it take so long to think about it? It's like, you know what? A Mario animated movie would be good. Like, how did we have to wait to 2023 to realize like how we have movies in full CG? Like, let's do Mario. I could get Luigi and Donkey Kong, and like we could have like a cameo from Yoshi, and then they just get carried away with all these elements we could add to it. And it was fine. It was like they found the perfect studio to team up with. Like the Illumination ones, like the people behind Minions and Sing and like the Grinch, like all these like sort of modern classic children's movies. So the fact that Nintendo found a really like next to Pixar like level of like really excellent like CG kids like storytellers, it was the perfect combination.
I totally agree, and I enjoyed it. I understood. I listened to a podcast called The Weekly Planet, and they do a. There are two Australian guys that review films, and they were kind of they didn't give it a very good critical response. They didn't respond very well to it either. When I read it, I was like, I could understand where they're coming from. Like they're saying the jokes were quite. There was a lot of like space between jokes that they weren't expecting. For example.
Right.
But which I kind of agree with, but there was they thought Mario and Peach joined up too quickly, and I was like, actually, it doesn't matter. Like we were trying to get quickly onto the next bit. They're like,
yeah.
I felt like there was bits like sometimes like I don't think about these things until I watch a review from somebody I like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Like they get like they decide that I got it, and like I think it was explained away in the plot as like. Shit, we need to get from A to B really quickly. We'll use carts, and it was just an excuse to get them driving Mario Karts, basically.
Yeah,
which was but no, I enjoyed it. I thought one of the criticisms I saw, which was one of the bits I really liked about it, was the score and the use of pop music.
Oh yeah, that had like an expensive soundtrack.
Yeah, I enjoyed the soundtrack.
Yeah, like it was like a lot of obviously big hits, like a lot of big expensive needle drops, let's say, but it was like sort of perfect music. Like in my mind, it's like when they start playing, was it like AC/DC for when they were coming to the Mario Kart and they're selecting their vehicle parts.
Yeah, it was Thunderstruck, wasn't it? It was good.
And it was just so many things where like where they're sitting selecting the wheels and the bodies for the cars, like. That is just like the game because you have to do the same things before you race.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Like the references, like adults and children would get them, and like you're more seasoned, like people that like us that have grown up playing like Mario games on like the Game Boy, to now like children playing it on like the Switch or the DS. And, like there's bits for everyone to kind of enjoy, and like Jack Black as Bowser, was a stroke of genius.
He was outside of Chris Pratt, which I think is quite popular to just like Chris Pratt just now. But I would outside of that, I'm not a massive Jack Black fan, to be honest. It wasn't expecting much from him, but he was great as Bowser. I thought his song was quite disappointing. That like the one about Peach, it just wasn't as funny as I wanted it to be. I don't know if it was maybe just.
It was like also like 10 seconds as well. It was strange that to see that the internet thought this was like got carried away with like this musical number, and it's like it was such a small part of the film, but it was like the only part of the film where it was like, yep, that's Jack Black. Like you let the Jack Black out into Bowser.
I like the one musical number that annoyed me was they reused again because they seem to do it all the time. Is "I Need a Hero" by Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
That was the only one that was like, oh, we've done this, and we've actually done this in another CGI film. We've done, but apart from that, I thought the Take On Me one was really cool. I loved the Beastie Boys Brooklyn.
Oh, the Brooklyn, yeah, and they go 2D racing to get to their first job.
I thought that was really good, and the Beastie Boys are quite funny. Anyway, the Beastie Boys seem to be like, I grew up with the Beastie Boys, absolutely adore them, and actually, I remember going to, there's a nightclub in Edinburgh that's not there anymore. It's a block of flats called Studio 24, and it used to be like, it's like it was a metal rock nightclub, but when you went, it always started off, and it was funny. Like you think about it now, but you went there, and like as you went into the building, it was really dark, like metal stuff, and there was like four guys, and then you're maybe like hundreds of folk in this. I wouldn't say like 200 folk in this nightclub, and there'd be like four guys on the dance floor, total shredding like fuck, like head banging, and then like the music went through like a weird, and I used to go every week when I was a student, and then like you started to learn the rhythm of the DJ really quickly. So like maybe the first half an hour was metal stuff, and then it kind of filtered into like sort of more shouty metal that isn't quite like Slipknot. Is slightly more commercial, and then eventually after about 45 minutes, for whatever reason, Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys came on, and that was that was the song that signified that we were moving away from metal and going into rock now.
Yeah,
and it was good, and everything was going to be fine. And so I love the Beastie Boys, and then obviously Intergalactic's a banger, and then they used Sabotage in the Star Trek movies, and then they obviously that and Mario, and then I was watching the trailer to they released the trailer to the Marvels this morning.
Oh yeah.
And there's a Beastie Boys song in there as well. It was Intergalactic by
it was. You're right.
I was like, oh, Beastie Boys are a popular band amongst geeks, aren't they? My mother's like Beastie Boys side note before I move on. They don't play Fight for Your Right to Party live because they got annoyed that it was the whole song's supposed to be like a total fuck you to jock culture. And apparently in the late 80s it got picked up by jocks as like their anthem. So like it's like in that whole American fraternity culture, fraternities total loved Fight for Your Right to Party. They're like, no.
The opposite.
They embraced it. They're like, no, this is us as geeks saying, and the guys Beastie Boys were like, no, this is us as geeks saying like back off and let us party as well. I thought Mario was good. It looked incredible. The use of the computer, the use of the music from the games was really.
Oh yeah, it was kind of like blended into like it's almost like an orchestra score, but of like the Mario music. And to be honest, like they could easily like launch their own universe of movies. Like just think of like the games, like Luigi himself, like those Haunted Mansion games could easily be movies, or like Donkey Kong Country, and like because Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong was brilliant.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good.
His whole family were there, so like that's like a movie waiting to happen. Like, don't give me TV series. There's enough TV series of things, but just make more movies.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think when Mario 6 rolls around and they eventually run out of ideas, they can do the Mario and Sonic crossover.
Exactly. They're at the Olympics for some reason.
So, I really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think what else I did. It was nerdy. I've got something I want to. That was my main sort of geekery was discovering a cinema was cool. I went to Edinburgh a couple of times last week as well, and my 7-year-old is just old enough to recognise stuff now and like be able to chat to him about things and shit. And we just so happened to walk past all the filming locations to Infinity War last week, which was really smart. It we got off the train, and I was able to say, look, that's where Captain America was standing when he caught the spear, and he was like, so it was, and I was like, and then we walked up Coburn Street because we were meeting my father-in-law on the grass market. So we walked up Coburn Street, so I was able to say, look, that's where Wanda and Vision were standing when they got stabbed, and look, and he thought it was great. So that was really cool. Edinburgh's really smart. And actually, when you stop and think about how much of the cinema city is getting used for filming, like this whole section of it that we used for Fast and Furious as well, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know Glasgow's the same as well. I was at I was down the West End of Glasgow recently, and you look around, you're like, oh, this was Gotham. In section, this whole sections were like, oh, I know where, there's a bit in the new Flash trailer where Batman's cruising down a street, and you're like, oh, there's the Polo Lounge,
And we'll see the same when it comes to Indiana Jones this summer.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago. I was in Glasgow a couple of years ago, and you couldn't get into one of the streets because it was getting used. It was pretty smart. I was trying to look past the security guard who was being really obtuse and was like, what's getting filmed in there, man? And he was like, or no, I knew what was getting filmed. I was like, have you seen anything cool? And he's like, "Aye, man, like I'm just staring at this Costa all day." I was like, no, I meant like the stuff behind you. And then he was just being a dick. And then this girl walked past me and was like, "Excuse me, what are you filming?" He was like, "I didn't ken him." And she walked away, and I was like, I had to grab her and say, I didn't have to, but caught her in the arm. I was like, he's being an asshole. It's Indiana Jones they're filming. And she's like, and she was totally made up. And I was like, what? I turned to him like, why are you being like that, man? You're getting paid to stand with your back to a wall. Just chill,
Yeah, we're not asking for you to give out plot details. Just tell us the name of the fucking film.
Yeah, and be a bit excited that your city is getting used for like a fucking Indiana Jones. It comes out in the end of June, doesn't it? Like it's not long away either.
Yeah, no, it's not far at all.
This is this is like a weird time for movies. It seems to be there's loads of shit on. It's the first time I've ever considered getting one of those monthly passes to the Odeon because there's so much on.
You just go like an unlimited pass. Yeah, definitely. I feel like this is the year where like they've saved up like a lot of things. Like we're back in the cinemas, so is it right? All these things we've been sitting on, we could quickly get them out there. But I went. Obviously, I mentioned I did go to the cinema the weekend and see Mario Brothers, but spur of the moment, I ended up going back to the cinema on Monday to see Dungeons and Dragons.
Was it all right? Was it good?
It was surprisingly good for sort of like a film and property that I've never really had an interest in. I mean, I've had a friend that tried to do Dungeons and Dragons like with me and my wife, and I think we'd met 2 occasions, done it, but it's just not for me. I can't get into character as much as I'd like to think I could, and just think on the fly, and it was just nah. I'm better off playing Monopoly or something. But
that's quite common. I mean, I quite like D&D. It's a funny. I play it not as regularly as other people. I can maybe do. It's a funny game because I love it. I've got friends that will play it 3 or 4 nights a week and have different campaigns. And I've got I'll try and catch up with pals. Like, are you about tonight? And they're like, nah, sorry, I've got my Discord campaign, and there's they've got like a Tuesday night Discord group. Yeah, they do it. And then my friend Daniel, who I was out with today, actually, he's a prime example. So he's got his Discord group. He's got a group that he's got a group of games with on like a Wednesday, I think, in Edinburgh somewhere.
Okay.
And he comes through on a Friday. He lives in Edinburgh, but he comes through to Dunfermline on a Friday for a game there. And then he's usually got one happening over the weekend, and it's quite it takes up quite a large chunk of his weekend. So he's maybe getting like 12, 13 hours of D&D in a week. Whereas I'm like, I like playing D&D, but I'm maybe like 2 or 3 hours every second weekend or every second week. It's just too. Otherwise, it's just too much, and I get pissed off with it.
Yeah, probably a hard thing to balance. Yeah. So like between work, life, and then kind of like your guilty pleasures, and just to kind of find right. This is not like just like casual gaming. It's not like right. I could play FIFA for half an hour, which is something I've never done. But you could do that far quicker at the end of a night rather than right. Okay, it's like podcasting. You need to take an evening out to do an hour and two to properly do one, but you can't do it every night of the week because like there's just so much going on. You can't just.
I think we've tried to play around with two night. Like I know you've got the Lager logs, and I know we talked about doing that. We tried to do a wrestling one, just too much. When life's in the way, and you're like, actually, I'm not that social. I get quite annoyed after a
I've got lots of friends, but they're all on the computer.
Yeah. So
so
the film though, like you enjoyed it. I'm hopefully going to see it this weekend.
It was something that I don't know. In my head, I was expecting it was to be like a Jumanji, in the sense that there was like, here's a group of misfit teens playing a board game, and oh no, they've somehow ended up in medieval times. But it isn't that at all. It was just this fantasy-based film. You've got the team of Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez, and yeah, it's really lighthearted. Hugh Grant's in there as the villain. It's got a good sense of humor to it, which I wasn't expecting. Like it kind of pokes. It doesn't poke fun at Dungeons and Dragons, but they poke fun at the situations that they're in. Like it's similar.
My friends have spoken about that, and I've got friends. I've got friends that play D&D, and I play it as well. And my friends that play it and say it says like it pokes fun at the ludicrousness of role play, which
right.
Like the bit I have seen, and it was like a bit was like when they're trying to ask a corpse a series of questions.
Yes.
And like that is my son my son DMs and he plays a lot of D&D. He was saying, he was like, that's just like that's what happens. Like, you know, like they'll explain the rules. They'll explain the rules to somebody. He's like my that would happen, and he quite enjoyed that. He's like, they're not making fun of me. They're making fun of the situation. He's like, but they're also making fun of the fact that probably happens in 9 out of 10 D&D groups that actually try that kind of puzzle. Like they'll burn 2 or 3 questions trying to establish the rule before they're like, oh fuck, we've only got 2 questions.
But no, it was good. It was sort of like I feel like the best comparison is you've got Thor the Dark World, and then you've got Ragnarok, which is a real different tone to what you've seen before.
Yeah.
So I would say it's kind of like, you've got an idea in your head of what Dungeons and Dragons is, but when you're watching, it's like, Christ, that's a lot funnier than I expected.
Yeah.
But no, it was it was the £3 Monday deal at my local cinema. And my mate's like, oh, I'll go see this. Do you fancy? And he's like, aye, why not? Go there, I'll spend more money on sweets, and just sat watching it, and came out and going, you know what? I wouldn't have watched this. Like, this is something I would have waited until it was like streaming on Amazon or Netflix before I would dare give it a try. But it was actually a really, really good film. And Chris Pine's like a real, like, reliable guy, like, you know, like to carry like a franchise. Obviously, we've had Star Trek, and obviously Dungeons and Dragons could have countless stories, because that's what it's kind of built on, isn't it? Like there's so many campaigns, so they could easily like just flesh this out, because I believe it done like box office expectations. I think it succeeded them, so I wouldn't be surprised if another one's greenlit.
So I'm just going to. I actually haven't checked D&D box. Talk about Mario, and I know that's like smashing records, isn't it? Like it had like I think it opened on a Wednesday, which is kind of cheating. But because on Wednesday, it's weekend growth.
No, it's probably huge. But I mean, it also is the perfect storm. It came out for the Easter holidays, so you've got families and parents like searching for things to do with their kids to occupy them, and then it's like Mario. There's a new Mario movie at the cinema. Like, that's it. That is an easy way to occupy an afternoon. You take them to see the new Mario movie. That's 90 minutes. Then you get them around to McDonald's, and then like that's it. That's one of those 14 days taken care of. So I imagine they've made daft money off of Mario.
No, I think it's ludicrous. I was just in there. D&D's made, and again, like you have to think about that as well. Like Wizards of the Coast will be hoping. So Hasbro bought over Wizards of the Coast, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they bought them over in expectation for this film. So this movie was expected to make between 30 and 40 million in its first weekend, and it made 38.5. So, like you say, it's just in its opening weekend. So it's made hundreds of millions since then. So.
Yeah.
Long may it continue. I'm going to go and see it either on Saturday. I might go and see it on Saturday. So, as I say, there's the Alloa Cinema, which I'm kind of addicted to. As I say, I'm really excited about that. Like I'm a cycle to and from work, and I'm stupidly excited about the fact that there's a really long, straight, and unhilly cycle track between my town and the Alloa Cinema. So I'm now like, I'm gonna fucking cycle to that cinema, man.
You'll fall asleep when the film starts.
No, probably. That was cool. It was I'm really excited to see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I'll go see it this weekend. I like everyone that's in it. I like the fact that it's not taking the source material too seriously, because actually anybody that plays D&D, most people that play D&D don't take the source material too seriously. So why would you make it? There was a D&D film that came out about 25 years ago, and it was fucking awful because it took itself too seriously. And you're like, no, like this is a stupid game. So like it's really hard to play sometimes, but it's and you can but actually just it's if you're gonna make a film based on a game, it should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
My big geeky thing I did this week was today, where other to Mario, I took my kids to the science festival in the big museum in Edinburgh, the National Museum of Scotland.
All right.
It was good fun. So we did that this morning. Myself, my kids, and Daniel, who's my mate, who is my D&D pal. We did loads of science experiments and stuff. Also, in the National Museum of Scotland just now, there's a Doctor Who exhibition.
Okay.
So I went in there as well because I'm a massive Doctor Who fan, and it was like the whole idea was about. It was quite a cool it was a massive exhibition. It was not a wee exhibition. I had loads of props from the programs. I had loads of stuff. That had been shown on screen, but also it was just kind of like it talked about this. It was like the whole thing was like, oh, here's the science behind the science fiction, and it was kind of playing around with like, Doctor Who talked about cloning. So I think the idea was like they talked about an issue that Doctor Who tried to discuss, and then they talked about like the science behind that. So they would be like, so Doctor Who talked about cloning. Here's the thing about cloning. Doctor Who talked about pollution. Here's the thing about pollution. It was good, and it was quite moving. Like by the end of it, I was like, Doctor Who is like my favorite TV program, and I forget that sometimes because it goes through such a fucking roller coaster ride of a show.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was really smart. And by the end of it, I was like, I love Doctor Who. My 7-year-old. Let's go. Like, this is what you want. This is what you want from an exhibition. So my 7-year-old came home and like he likes drawing, so he like straight away was like got his pencils out. And he drew that, which is fucking banging.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he used like a YouTube tutorial, but that's the 11th Doctor, and then he drew that. Yeah, as well.
Oh, very good.
The spelling of exterminate is exterminate.
Yeah.
Exterminate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exterminate. I love it.
That's
so
awesome.
they'll be getting. I'm going into the shop and they'll be getting framed tomorrow. So, yeah, pretty cool. It's there till May, so if you're in Scotland, if you're in Edinburgh, you should go and see the Doctor Who exhibition. It's well good.
Pretty cool.
Any more assorted geekery before we spend the last 10 minutes talking about fucking WrestleMania?
I know. I was trying to think. Like we could talk about Marvel trailers, but I've not paid that much attention to them.
I haven't as well. Actually, the one trailer I did thought was interesting because there's been quite a few the last couple of weeks, isn't there? The Secret Wars one looks pretty good, but I really did you see the Blue Beetle trailer?
Yeah, that looked interesting.
I like the guy. It's
Cobra Kai actor, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Miguel from Cobra Kai, which is cool. Yeah. My friend Tom sent me a message this morning that was about I bought a car when I was drunk at the weekend. I bought myself a Karl Marx t-shirt because I was being a dafty, and I sent it to my mate Tom, and then he sent me back a poster that was like Karl Marx in a boxing match with Batman, and then And then one of my favorite parts of that trailer of Blue Beetle is when I think they mentioned getting help from Batman, and one of the Blue Beetles, like it's all about his like extended family, isn't it? And the whole film looks about it being a family. He mentions we should maybe get the Justice League, which somebody should call Batman, and one of his like uncles that is like Batman's a fascist. It's like it's like he is. Yeah. Other than
No, it
that,
definitely
none of
looks
the
fun. Well, I've always got time for superhero movies when they come around. I might not always go out to the cinemas to see them because I feel like this year, especially, there's just a lot of films coming out. It's like, I don't know. It's definitely safer to watch them at home.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll probably hit that film up. But yeah, like those trailers, like Blue Beetle, surprised me because I knew like zero about it. But that's quite an intense trailer, like that. Like with the beetle latching onto him and the transformation into the suit, looked almost like Ghost
It's like
Rider
proper
again.
body horror stuff, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's proper body horror stuff. It reminded me of you mentioned Carpenter there earlier in the podcast. It reminded me of like sort of like Cronenberg kind of stuff, you know, like
yeah.
I was actually quite surprised by how graphic that sort of transformation was and how much pain the
It
guy
looked
looked
pretty
like he was
extreme.
at the end. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so I think
like
it'll be
his
quite
whole
cool.
family watching it happen to him.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know much about Blue Beetle as a character. I mentioned it to my friend. I mentioned it to my oldest son, who plays a lot of the computer games. He plays like Injustice and stuff like that, and he was quite excited. He was like, oh, "There's a Blue Beetle film." He ran off to watch the trailer and came back and was like, "Yeah, that looks banging." It's like that's good. The Marvels trailer came today, and other than it looked alright. I haven't finished Miss Marvel yet. It's like one of the only. I think it is the only Marvel show that I didn't finish. Actually, on reflection,
I've never started it. It's I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of TV series they are. So it needs to be a character that I'm really interested in, and then I'll watch it. So I think out of the ones last year, it was just Moon Knight. The rest I wasn't invested in. But
what came out last year? Because I watched Moon Knight. I actually had to fight myself to watch Moon Knight. I feel like I owed it to myself to watch Moon Knight because I've been looking forward to it so much. I missed Miss Marvel.
She-Hulk was another one.
I finished She-Hulk. I finished She-Hulk because I knew Daredevil was going to be in it. So I worked my whole. I fought through that and actually enjoyed. I really enjoyed She-Hulk by the end, to be honest.
I can't remember if Loki was last year or not.
And it was the year before. I enjoyed Loki. We're getting that this year, I think. Again soon. We also got the Halloween spin-off thing. The one shot that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, was it Werewolf by Night?
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And I liked it because that was it. It was just like a 1 hour special almost.
Yeah,
so.
It was good. Yeah, it had the Man Thing in it.
Oh, and your Guardians Christmas special.
I actually didn't finish that one either. I tell you, I didn't finish that. I got halfway through and I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm surprised.
I came away really enjoying the music to it. Like that band that played at the start really got stuck in my head. I just remember being out driving, singing to that fucking song, even though it wasn't playing. But it was even just like that weird motion where like the guitarist had like a detached arm that would spin around.
Yeah.
Like they could have just released like a Christmas music video and that could have been enough. They didn't need to go all the way to Earth to kidnap Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. It was just one joke that I didn't feel like was that funny, I think. Yeah. But we'll see what this year brings. Secret Wars comes out really soon. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the trailer for that looks all right. I saw the trailer for that when I went to see Mario, actually.
Yeah.
I thought that it looks like it's going to be quite dark.
Yeah, they need to stop making like, but they've not swapped places, but there was a stage where the DC movies looked all dark and miserable and real, and the Marvel films were like bright, funny, and sarcastic. And it's getting to a point where like the franchises you kind of love to start with have now all turned dark and serious, and someone's probably going to die. Someone you like, probably someone cuddly and furry, will probably die. Bring tissues. It's like, I don't want to go that direction. So it's bad enough you blew up the tree in the first movie, but
he looks good though. Actually, that was the thing I did pick up in the trailer. Is like he looks fucking quality. Like they've made Groot like
they've been
Groot's in his
giving him
early
some
20s
medical
now or
Groot.
whatever. He's like he just looks like a total henge, like massive guy now. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm quite liking that.
That's it. He's looking more like Vin Diesel every day.
Totally. Right, we've got maybe like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. We talk about because we're the only ones here and no one can tell us not to. So Brew Age Outlaw shit. So
go for it.
So obviously the last couple of weeks have been fucking crazy for wrestling as well. The last time since we were here,
has happened. Yeah,
we've had WrestleMania. We've had the WrestleMania weekend. Literally the last. No, it wasn't a tell lie. Instead of having the podcast here 2 weeks ago, I was watching. It was my birthday, so I had control of the telly. So I had Spotify playing my playlist, and I had GCW's. Like I can't remember what it was because GCW do a thing over WrestleMania weekend. And actually, I got the whole thing for free on Fight Plus. You got a week free trial of. You got a week free trial of Fight Plus, and all the GCW, the Game Changer Wrestling stuff is free. Is part of that package. So I was watching all these live shows from like there was basically wrestling on my entire house between like Thursday night at 9 through to like Monday afternoon. It was brilliant. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Too much wrestling, but certainly the GCW stuff, which it's not a company that I've really followed all that much.
No, I've seen a small handful of matches, like when Matt Cardona was there, feuding with Nick Gage and some Moxley stuff. But normally it's just the clips you see of things going horribly wrong. Like remember when Joey Janela was trying to do a flaming super kick and then he couldn't put the flames out on his foot and he had to quickly get his boot off and no one had fire extinguishers there. So the people for the crowd started throwing bottled water into the ring. It was like,
it was nuts. There's some stuff I don't get. There was some really, really like actually a really good wrestling organization and one that I now follow on like all my social media because I'm like actually there was some really good stuff. There was a Speedball Mike Bailey who I've seen him on Impact.
I've heard that name a lot. Yeah.
I think he's like. Do you remember like 10 years ago when Will Ospreay was the name that folk were like whispering about in Pac before he became Adrian Neville on
of course.
I think Mike Bailey's on that level. I think at the moment, or at least in my head canon, he is. He's like 6 months to a year away from showing up as a bit of a, and he'll be a superstar on NXT or AEW. But he had a match with Vikingo, I think his name is, who had a match. He wrestled. He wrestled.
Kenny a couple weeks ago.
He wrestled Kenny Omega a couple weeks ago. He did some amazing things. They had an amazing match, including Vikingo did this was it the Canadian Destroyer one that everyone now does all the time? So the Spanish Fly, is that what it's called?
That's the one where they do the joint moonsault off the top rope where he's holding the pole. Yeah. That's the Spanish Fly.
Okay. I'm trying to work out which is which. This is the one that's like the Canadian Destroyer. The Canadian Destroyer always baffled me. The Canadian Destroyer looks a bit like the guy that ends up taking the move is the one that was starting the move at the first place. So it looks like he's about to start a power bomb, or then they flip. Well, basically, you watch it.
A Canadian Destroyer never works unless the opponent jumps to kick it off. Like the person doing the move can't get the momentum to flip that person around.
Yeah, it's you watch it, so it's like Vikingo is on the top rope, and Speedball Mike Bailey's on the apron, and he jumps off the top rope into the Canadian Destroyer. And it's just fucking barmy, like just stuff that you're watching. You're like the laws of physics seem to not exist. It was great. That was really good. I watched a show that I really enjoyed. That GCW do they do a thing where they basically put on like a dozen shows over the weekend, and you've got like Joey Janela does like a total random, like it's called the Joey Janela Spring Break, and it's just it's full of characters. So you watch it, and it's like they'll bring in X-Pac for a match, for example, and just random shit like that. But then they did one that it was like the one that it was just I watched it because it was on, and I wouldn't have watched it normally. I can't even remember what it's called. It was a Joe or Mike Bennett's Bloodsport, I think is what it was called.
Oh,
it was just
Josh Barnett's.
Josh Barnett, that's it.
Yeah,
and they basically
there's
all it
no
is they
ring
take the ropes
ropes. Yeah, just like it's just the ring. It's just like the base.
Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed it. It meant it was a different kind of wrestling show. What was quite cool is all these shows are only like 2 hours long as well. So like, I'm trying to count my pennies. I might go to Philadelphia next year on my own to take it in, and that would be a show I would definitely pick up. Where it's just basically like, you say it's all mat based stuff, and like, it's quite interesting because like it's got like a total MMA vibe to it. But, like one of the matches I watched, it was Jeff Cobb won it, and he basically won it with the first move in the match, which was like a total brutal powerbomb. But he did the powerbomb, and then he punched the guy, and then the referee jumped in and went, no, you've knocked him out. It was just total weird watching it. Like I was like, that wouldn't happen in a normal wrestling. Yeah, that wouldn't happen normally, but it was pretty cool. And then so I watched all them.
Some big names go across to that because didn't like 9 times out of 10 Moxley is on the card somewhere because he likes to take part in those. But didn't Kota Ibushi show up?
Yeah, so he was in Bloodsport. Ibushi, that was his first match for that. He was there. It was quite interesting watching it. David Boy Smith Jr. was there as well. It was because they did this weird thing because it's set up like almost like an MMA event. And I've been to a couple of MMA events where like they introduced the matches one by one on the stage.
Yeah.
And they did that. So you had like they introduced the guys, and for like about 5-10 minutes before the show actually started, they were all standing in the ring getting introduced one at a time, and then standing at hard camera like in their matchups. It was cool. It was really smart. Totally different. And then obviously you had that show, and then I only caught some of it. I watched a wee bit of Multiverse United, which is like the shit version of Forbidden Door.
Yes, the Impact and New Japan crossover.
Yeah, that was okay, but it was it wasn't. I think it made Impact look a bit silly because Impact threw everyone they had at it. You know, you watch Forbidden Door, and it was like basically Forbidden Door is great, and I'm really looking forward to this year's one, where it's just basically like New Japan's best guy versus his equivalent in the AEW. Just basically is like it creates like a really cool. It creates cool parallels. Where like whereas Forbidden Door, not Forbidden Door, sorry, Multiverse United was very much. I think it was trying to be the same kind of show, but what you ended up having was like you had Impact's top guy versus like a young lion, and you're like,
all right,
this isn't the same. Like, New Japan didn't send nearly enough of their top guys, so you had like a power imbalance where like you had the best Impact wrestler guys versus mid card New Japan guys.
Yeah,
and it wasn't the same. That was a bit disappointing. Because obviously you would want them to appear as equals, and they weren't. So,
aye, definitely. And whilst I never watched the weekend, but it was cool to see that Sanada was like the new IWGP
he's
World
the new
Champion.
Yeah.
Aye, and like that makes total sense. Like he looks like a champion. Like when you seen him tagging with Evil back in the day, like he's always had this great look, but now he's kind of gotten serious. He's gotten rid of like the big blonde hair and the beards, and I need to kind of see this match, like see how Okada versus Sanada actually turned out, because it's great that they've put the trust in him to carry the belt.
I hope it works because sometimes it doesn't. For like New Japan are better at that, I think, than other companies. But New Japan will give different people a go, and sometimes it doesn't work. Obviously, we see in WWE and all the wrestling haven't really done it because they've not existed long enough. Even WWE try a different champion. The one that springs to mind is fucking the Maharaja guy. What's his name?
Oh, Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, where they'll just give like somebody, or GBL is another example, where they give somebody maybe a wee bit more left field the title. New Japan do that a wee bit more, but I think New Japan try and push the legitimacy of what they're trying to do. So Goto was champion like a couple of years ago, and it didn't quite work.
It's the same. I mean, out of Sonata and Evil held the title before him.
Yeah, totally.
And that was like
I forget Evil had the title, yeah.
Yeah, it was strange. But I think if all else fails, belt to Okada. It's just like the nice reset button for anything. That right? If all goes wrong, Wrestle Kingdom, belt to Okada. Right, we're good.
I think so. That I think that annoys people as well. Certainly found and they did Naito the dirty. Naito's a funny guy, right? I get it. Like I get the whole Naito thing. I know he is brilliant, and I know that sometimes like he's got a tendency to be quite lazy, and when Naito's lazy, you can tell it. And I saw him in London a couple of years ago, just before lockdown. I saw him, and it was Naito at his worst, right? And I was really excited, and then I've got I bought the lanyard for my car keys that I've still got, and the fucking lost the loss in Gobbler. I can't even say it. It's the most like fucking hardest. Yeah, but he was just phoning it in a wee bit. You know, like if you watch Naito matches, like he does a weird thing where like he'll go all in. If you watch his match with Jericho like 3 or 4 years ago, it's fucking quality because there's two guys that are really trying to prove they can still go, and they just bang it, and that's a great their wee feud that they had in New Japan was great. But then sometimes he'll just like. So Naito can go really well, and then sometimes it's like he can't be bothered, and he slows it right down, and he plays around with the theatrics a wee bit more. But it's like he runs really cold, like he can be really hot, and then it's not subtle. He just sort of like turns his own volume down a wee bit, and you're like, oh, we're not getting any intensity off you, man. You're fanning about. You're not really here, and I can't like people can strike me down and tell me that there's somebody else that does it, but I can't actually think of any other wrestler that does it. Naito seems, and he's annoying because actually when he's on point and he's doing what he should be doing and he's working really hard, he's my favorite wrestler, Naito. But like he's also my least favorite wrestler when he's like it's a bit like if Orange Cassidy's whole gimmick wasn't a gimmick.
That was the comparison I had in my head, but he's far more likable. But I loved all the Naito stuff where like when he had I can't remember what belt it was, but I feel like it was like the Intercontinental, and he wouldn't carry it; he would kick it to the ring.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the belt he wanted, so he would just treat it and just kick it down the ramp as he was coming out to his match.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, he's good. When he was in London, it was annoying because he was the guy I was most looking forward to see in London, and he was the one I walked away from. That was a weird one. It was the first Royal Quest. And it's a really funny show. And try watching it live. Try watching the replay on the New Japan Network's rubbish because they didn't bring their own camera crew over with them. They used Rev Pro. Okay. So Rev Pro is like their British affiliate. So they brought them. And it's just like Rev Pro were not prepared to the Rev Pro were not prepared to produce a proper New Japan show. So it's not a very good presentation. But in the venue, there was some amazing stuff. There was some really tricky stuff. Like Ishii got like a concussion halfway through his match with Kenta, and then they wrestled the rest of the thing. But you could tell that there was just something a bit odd going on. Then they had the GOD wrestled Aussie Open. I think it was Aussie Open's first match in New Japan at that point. Obviously, they're now part of United Empire, and they're massive.
Yeah.
But
I think
that was hilarious. Yeah. Just like the first five minutes
of the weekend as well.
Was that?
I think they won the tag titles of the weekend for New Japan as well.
Like, they're brilliant.
And they're just big Aussie blokes. Like they were in that. I watched the Ring of Honor Super Card of Honor.
I was going to say that was going to be the next show I talked about.
And they were like one of the 5 teams in that Reach for the Sky ladder match for the tag titles. So, but they could be as good as FTR, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. And when that eventually happens, it's going to be brilliant. Like that feud will be great. I really like Ring of Honor just now. I think folk were worried that just the whole Ring of Honor, New Japan, All Elite Wrestling. I quite like that. All Elite Wrestling seems to be floundering a wee bit. I don't know what's going on with them just now, but they just don't seem to be clicking. I watched last week's Dynamite and was really kind of burnt out by it. And then I heard that the Battle of the Belts show that they did at the weekend isn't very good either. So it's just
I haven't seen that. I've seen a Rampage, but I haven't seen the Dynamite that was in Long Island. I started watching it. I got to the MJF musical number, and I paused it there because I was like, I really want to show this to my wife, and I've just never had the chance to do it yet. So I've not finished watching it, but I feel like I'm invested in the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club feud. But it's through watching the likes of Being the Elite on YouTube and kind of watching how that show's been falling apart. Like the episode they put up last week, or on Monday, is just been Brandon Cutler, like the guy just with the canisters of cold spray. Like it's literally just him now because everyone else is injured, and it's him thinking, right, what do you do now? Like the guys that stand up to the bullies are gone, so it's now time for me and Michael Nakazawa to stand up to the likes of Claudio, John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Bryan Danielson, and you're like, oh no, like it's going to be a massacre. And he's he was doing a training montage, and then he was sitting playing keyboards, and it's just this really sad song. Like I think he was actually crying. Like you could hear him getting emotionally upset as he's playing the keyboards, and it's a montage of them all when they were younger. So it's like the Bucks, Kenny, Hangman, Brandon as they're going on the road and winning belts, and then one of them sort of disappearing one by one. And then it cuts to the footage of obviously Hangman getting battered by the Blackpool Combat Club last week, where it's did they not they done the gimmick where they used a screwdriver or something? Like Bryan Danielson was trying to injure him, and it's just cutting to the Young Bucks, and Matt's got a elbow brace on, Nick's got a shoulder. He's got a separated shoulder supposedly, and it's just the footage of Hangman getting battered was motivating them. Like they're at home injured, and then by the end of it, they've left their house, the phone's on the table, and so is the arm brace. And it's just a 7-minute YouTube video has got me so fired up for this fucking wrestling show. It's all the things you watch it for week to week and know none of it, but the fact that they've just done 7 minutes on YouTube, it's I love this far too much.
No, they're good.
It's really hard to justify to people, but
I think Cutler is underrated, and he's such a massive part of BTE that people don't see, because you don't see that much of it on Dynamite. But he is he's a massive part of it, and that sounds. I admittedly haven't watched BTE in about a year. There's so much other stuff to watch, but definitely check out. I really like him. Supercard of Honor was pretty cool. I only caught some of it because, as I say, I was starting to get wrestling burnout by Friday night. And I was Friday night, Saturday morning, I was like, oh, I'm getting burnt out. I'm watching too much wrestling. I'm like, fuck, I've got 2 nights of WrestleMania to watch.
You've got a lot coming up. But
to the point, I didn't even watch Stand and Deliver. I'm not gonna lie. That was the
I never saw it either.
That's fine.
Even though I think there's quite a lot of they call their tag titles ended up going to Scottish tag teams.
Yeah. So Gallus and Alba Fire have got the tag teams, haven't they? So,
yeah, exactly. It's Christ, I feel I should watch it, but
it's Wolfgang. Wolfgang's part of the Gallus.
Yeah.
And they've got it's him that owns Iron Girders Gym. That's the wrestling company that works with Acme. So it's pretty wild, man. Scottish wrestling's linked to. There's I know the guys behind Acme are doing a WrestleCon in May.
Right.
So that, and I think it's Iron Girders Gym that are running that. So,
but you've got FPWA doing a show on the 1st of June, and it's FPWA versus Iron Girders Gym on the Thursday night. Then on the Friday night, it's in Glasgow for night 2 of Iron Girders versus FPWA. So they're doing a 2-night event, whereas like both schools are going to each other's like hometowns to do shows.
Let's do it, man. Let's go. Let's work it out. We'll talk about it later. That sounds really good. That sounds like it could be good banner. Okay, right. I'm desperate for the loo, and our 5 minutes has lasted 25. We'll talk about WrestleMania's night 1 and 2 really quickly. What did you think?
It's always a good, fun spectacle. I mean, I ended up really enjoying matches I didn't expect. Like Rhea Ripley and Charlotte was amazing.
Oh, I think it started off a bit slow, but the last half was incredible.
Yeah.
Rhea's a superstar, like.
And Ray and Dominic had a brilliant match as well. Like the fact that Dominic came out of the back of a police van with
it was so good. It's condom.
Did you go back to jail? What did you do? He couldn't get his mask off, but the storytelling was great, and of course the tag team match at the end was amazing.
Yeah, it was really beautiful, actually. So a great tag team. I loved Ray and Dom. I wanted Dom to win. I really wanted Dom to win.
I could see that.
I thought, and that was maybe my own issue with the weekend as a whole. Was I thought matches were great, and then it was like results didn't go the way I wanted them to. Obviously, I really wanted Dom to win. I thought either Dom or the what's his name?
Not Damian Priest.
I just thought more the Judgment Day guy should have won. So if Dom should have won, or the match
Finn fought the second night. Yeah,
I think Finn should have won, or one of the two, because say the Judgment Day, who are probably after the Bloodline the most entertaining thing in WWE at the moment.
I definitely
could have done with a better record after WrestleMania. So what they finished 1 and 3 or 1 and 2. The 3 matches they were in, they lost 2 of them. So I thought I really wanted Dom to win. I was surprised he didn't, actually.
Yeah.
And then obviously I think we were all surprised that Cody didn't win.
I know.
Finish the story.
Yeah, exactly. It had such a build. It's to the point now where I don't. There's no bigger stage for him to get beaten at now. Like if he's not losing the belt at WrestleMania, when is he going to drop the belt?
Next,
like, it's not going to be. It's not going to be Backlash Puerto Rico.
No.
So
no, it'll be next WrestleMania. It'll be against The Rock, I reckon. That's my prediction.
Why? No.
Because unless things sort out, because like if we move past WrestleMania, we sort of. I'm just looking at our time. Wrestling went fucking weird. Like obviously, I couldn't believe that after watching. I couldn't believe after watching approximately 30-something hours of wrestling over the weekend. The biggest thing that happened that weekend wasn't anything to do with any of the wrestling I watched. So the WWE sale has gone through, and they're now 51. When everything's said and done, the guys that own UFC will own 51% of WWE, and Vince McMahon is in more creative control than he has been since he retired.
Yep, and he showed up with a dye job and a mustache.
Fucking horrible mustache.
Yeah, it just looks like a dodgy car salesman.
He does look like a dodgy car salesman.
Yeah,
and then WWE has noticeably got shit since
since Monday. The most famous, like the Raw after Mania, is always supposed to be the absolute banger, and it was an absolute wet fart.
Yeah, it was a total wet fart. So I'm watching it with morbid curiosity. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm kind of trying to be objective about it because folk are like, fucking poor Triple H. Like he did so well, he built it up, but actually he's still gonna like come out of this with more money and strength than anyone, the rest of us. So actually, we'll just wait and see what happens. There's a draft coming up soon that'll be quite interesting. So
like you need to start splitting up belts if we're doing that. Like you've got one tag team holding 2 belts, one champion holding 2 belts. If you're splitting it, like if you're having Knights of Champions, like you've got to be defending both belts individually. The way I see it, but
which will maybe be the way to take things off it. Anywho, I am desperate for a wee. It's been 2 hours. It's been great fun.
Has indeed.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much for joining us. You got anything else you wanted to plug before we left? What's happening with Lagerlogs this week?
We've got a mystery beer review going up this weekend. But yeah, I'm sort of posting videos every couple of days. We've got a wee backlog. Tom's in Amsterdam just now getting pissed.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, just search for the Lagerlogs on YouTube.
Absolutely awesome, man. Cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything out this weekend that folk need to check out, but nothing's springing to mind, and I didn't have a look to write anything down. Free comic book days in a couple of weeks, so stay in tune. We'll chat about that as it comes up, and obviously we've got all our own wee projects and stuff as well. But awesome, man. Thank you so much.
No worries at all.
Cheers.